It was discovered yesterday that Australia had quietly dropped recognition of West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel from the Department of Foreign Affairs website. This was quickly met with the government denying, oh, no, we haven't changed anything, they said, claiming Australia's stance on Israel's capital had not changed. But it didn't take long before it was confirmed that, in fact, yes, the Labor cabinet has signed off on the decision. Here was Penny Wong earlier this morning announcing it.
Today, the government has reaffirmed Australia's previous and long-standing position that Jerusalem is a final status issue. This reverses the Morrison government's recognition of West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Australia's embassy, of course, has always been and remains in Tel Aviv.
Now, I cannot tell you how many times prior to the election I warned both on air and in private to many, many friends that Labor is no friend to Israel. And this is just further proof of that. You only have to look at Labor's decision last month, which we covered here on the show, to double our foreign aid to the group UNRWA, which had been accused of perpetuating the pay-for-slave program. And indeed, outsiders and Dr. David Adler and Pauline Hanson and others convinced Julie Bishop to reverse that and to remove funding. Penny Wong has now put that funding back. Well, to join me to discuss that is indeed President of the Australian Jewish Association, David Adler. David, always great to see you. It's less than 24 hours after Labor denies it's changing the capital. They've now announced that they are. Now, you know, people kind of go, oh, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Explain why this is so important.
Well, first of all, it's worth making the observation, Rowan, that Israel is the only country on earth that Australia has this particular approach to the capital. Every other country, there's no question, it can nominate its capital. It is appropriately recognised. Now, Scott Morrison made a sort of a half-baked decision, sort of a half-pregnant situation in recognising an artificial division called West Jerusalem. That's the side which has the Knesset, has most of the government ministries, where the official residence of the Prime Minister is, and etc. And it's indisputable that in any scenario there will be no change to that. So this is very retrograde. It also is a terrifically bad signal to the enemies of Israel, to those that wish to pursue jihadist terrorism, that no matter how disconnected from reality their objectives might be, it's still worth fighting on.
It's worth the fight because the left will support them. And this is what infuriates me, David, is that this is hard left Green style propaganda. And as I keep saying, this is a hardcore left-wing government. They dress themselves up as quite friendly and sensible, but they are pursuing policy after policy that is radical undergraduate socialist stuff, and this is one of them. They believe fervently in the Palestinian cause. If you scratched, most of the Labor supporters, you would find certainly some aspects of anti-Semitism, as we saw with the British Labor Party. But the point here is, David, and you've said it yourself, even Hamas, the terrorist organisation, have come out and said, well done, Australia. Well done, Penny Wong. That's great. Oh, what great mates to have. Hamas applauding Penny Wong's decision. That gives a kind of signal that maybe this isn't quite all right. And also the Prime Minister of Israel, Yair Lapid, has tweeted out, and the guy's obviously got a sense of humour, he's tweeted out, and I quote, "In light of the way this decision was made in Australia, as a hasty response to an incorrect report in the media, we can only hope that the Australian government manages other matters more seriously and professionally." I mean, that's a scathing indictment by the Prime Minister of Israel of the Labor Party of Australia.
I don't recall the Prime Minister of Israel making such a backhanded remark about how policy is conducted in Australia. And in terms of a measure of being radical, Rowan, this goes way beyond what the Biden administration is even doing. I mean, to his credit, Joe Biden has confirmed the Trump recognition of the status of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And we saw the after effect of that. In the Middle East, it is principle and strength which is respected, not wishy-washy, PC, maybe.
Well, speaking of that, so let's talk about Donald Trump, because you know I love talking about Donald Trump, so please forgive me. Well, first of all, Yair Lapid also said that Jerusalem is the eternal and united capital of Israel and nothing will ever change that. So that's the official position of the Israeli Prime Minister.
That's law.
That's the law of Israel.
Israeli law.
Exactly. So Penny Wong and Albo think that they can kind of ride roughshod over the law of another country, an ally of ours, purely for their hardcore neo-Marxist undergraduate beliefs. Now, I also point out, David, that it was Donald Trump who brought about the Abraham Accords, which has seen peace in the Middle East. It was Donald Trump who said he would move the embassy to West Jerusalem. The US embassy is now in Jerusalem, correct? And we are seeing peace in the Middle East through those measures. Liz Truss said that she wished to move the British embassy into Jerusalem. So Australia is going completely against the tide.
Look, you're right. And a number of the more moderate Arab countries have entered into agreements with Israel. They recognise the reality of the situation. Israel is an advanced economy. It's a democracy. It respects human rights. It has been a wonderful ally to Western countries and led by the UAE, but also Bahrain, Sudan, Morocco, have entered into normalisation agreements with Israel. This is a huge advance, and it's having ripple effects even here. The Australian Jewish Association had a delegation have lunch recently with the UAE ambassador in Canberra.
That's United Arab Emirates Ambassador.
Correct.
That would never have happened a couple of years ago.
It would have been inconceivable. So even in Australia, there is an improvement in the relationship between the Jewish community and at least segments of the Arab community as a result of this. Now, what this decision by the Labor government has done is retrograde. As you said, the praise of Hamas says everything.
Well, it says it all. But look, I would say 2 strikes. 3 strikes are out. 2 strikes. So Penny Wong has already pandered to the Palestinians by giving them the $10 million, which you pointed out in The Spectator Australia and on Outsiders here, and you went to the Australian Parliament to fight to have that money removed.
We did.
You and Pauline Hanson and others convinced Julie Bishop to get $10 million of Australian taxpayers' money removed from going to UNRWA because of your legitimate concerns that innocent Jewish people were being killed with via money coming funneled through Australian taxpayers through UNRWA. You had succeeded in doing that. An amazing, magnificent victory. Praise to Julie Bishop. And Penny Wong reversed it.
She has.
Reversed it. $10 million back to the very people that the Australian government had taken the money away from for fears that they were using it to pay for terrorism. Unbelievable. 2 strikes. This is the second one. I think this is an utter disgrace. And as I said before, I'm sorry, Labor parties around the world are no friends of the Jews. That's been shown time and time again. I just quickly want to finally ask you, David, which I guess probably sums this up more than anything else. We learned today that the Labor Party have given membership in Australia to a left-wing extremist. Okay? Do you need any more proof than this? This bloke, Jay Tharapel, once wore a jacket which had the slogans "Curse on the Jews" on it and "Death to Israel." Nothing unambiguous about that. Nothing ambiguous about that statement. Death to Israel. He has been allowed to join the Labor Party. What is going on here, David?
Well, you have to really ask very pointed questions. What is the Labor Party on about if those sort of credentials allow admission of membership? And he's not a person without influence. We are aware that he has had appearances on Iranian TV. So in that respect, he has a peer called Jeremy Corbyn, who was paid by the Iranians to do TV interviews. He's also expressed sympathy for the dictator in Syria.
Yes.
and North Korea and other extremist regimes. So come into the Labor Party. If you've got those views,
it beggars
fine.
belief. It beggars belief. Well, there's your 3 strikes. I said 3 strikes and you're out. If any, I'm sorry, I hate to be patronising, but if members of the Jewish community still think Labor is your friend, you're making a big, big mistake.